Two captains and an offensive lineman. We hear from Washington Commanders veterans the day after they began their offseason workout program. Today on today's episode of Locked On Commanders.
Your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, into this episode of Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast covering the Washington Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for making Locked On Commanders your first listen of the day every day. And don't forget that you can subscribe for free on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this podcast. And you can continue this conversation with me by becoming a Locked On Commanders insider, the ever-growing group of insiders. Just go to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Commanders and get in on that fun. And you will have one-on-one conversations with me about news, analysis, insight, bonus content, all kinds of fun stuff going on over there. No hashtags, no apps. All you need is your phone. You got your phone, you got conversations with me. So there's lots of cool stuff going on over there. Join subtext.com/Locked On Commanders to get in on that fun today. This weekend, something that insiders are going to be getting the full video recordings of our Zoom press conferences with 4 Washington Commanders, 3 of whom you're going to hear parts of them on this episode. We're going to talk to Tress Way, Terry McLaurin, and Sam Cosmi. Deron Payne will be coming up on our Friday episode to wrap up the week. I'm David Harrison, credential member of the media covering the Washington Commanders for CommanderCountry.com, part of Sports Illustrated's FanNation, here with you every Monday through Friday, along with our everydayers. And as always, everydayers, I appreciate your continued support for the program. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. So, like I said, we're going to hear from those 3 players. Sam Cosmi is coming up at the end of this. Terry McLaurin is in the middle, and we are going to start with punter Tress Way. When we sat down with Tress, always a good time sitting down with Tress. Would much rather do it in person, but you know what? We'll do it over Zoom. We'll take what we can get, right? Those guys are in the building, busy getting to know each other, getting to know their coaches. They just got their iPad, so they're just getting a look at, some scheme stuff, some film stuff, some of those things. So obviously they need all the time they can get. So we greatly appreciate them taking, 10, 12 minutes or so out of their day to speak with us. And Tress is always a person, I think arguably the most popular punter among his fan base in the NFL. Like, I don't think any other punter in the NFL has as much of an adoring fan base as Tress Way does. Certainly deserves it. Always a very humble guy. Talk to us about how Coach Quinn really impressed him at the beginning of the OTAs and really spoke about how not only did he come in talking about energy and talking about competing against each other, but also really encouraged them to really get to know each other. There's a lot of turnover on this roster, more than 20 new faces already here. You're going to get 9 rookies at, about 9 rookies, give or take, depending on how they play the draft game, the trade game during the draft proceedings. But you're going to have, say 30 to 40 new faces on this roster come 2024 regular season. So Dan Quinn really stressing to Tress Way and the rest of the players, get to know each other. If you're a returning player, branch out, go get to know somebody new. And Tress is right in the thick of it, right? New kicker, new long snapper that he's got to get to know. So, a lot of good things going on there. You're going to hear these guys talk about that a lot, just kind of getting to know each other and really getting a feel for each other, having breakfast with each other, just shooting the breeze, right? And just getting to feel the locker room out. So you can feel the difference between this regime and previous ones. Didn't really go specific and to say like, oh, well, during Ron Rivera's time, this, and this, and then Dan Quinn's this and this and this. More focused on the excitement of what's happening around the Dan Quinn regime, but did admit that there's a palpable difference in what's going on in the room. Almost sounded a little starstruck at times, talking about Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner. I think really just professional admiration. But talked about all the times that Zach Ertz, that he's witnessed Zach Ertz doing damage against his team, having Bobby Wagner on the defensive side of the field when they're going up against the Seattle Seahawks, and now having those guys in their locker room and getting to know them, how cool that was. Again, shared more early impressions of Dan Quinn, not just from OTAs, but also from just getting to know him a little bit. Talked about his first conversation with the coach after he was hired, and then his impressions of new special teams coordinator Larry Izzo and how he describes, Tress Way describes the Seattle Seahawks special teams that he's witnessed over the years and what he really likes that he feels they're going to bring over from Seattle. So that's everything you're going to hear. It's all stuff I liked that Tress Way talked about. Let's turn it over now to the punter, to the captain, Tress Way.
I think what was really cool was DQ hit us right out the gate. This period is about getting to know each other and compete. And he said something that I thought was awesome. He's like, he made us all, he said, if you were here last year, stand up, move around, different seats, get to know guys. And he's like, man, those of you that have been through this before, you know how it goes. In 6 weeks, some of these dudes that you're meeting for the first time will turn into some of your best buds. And that's so true. Nobody's just ever said said it just flat out like that. And I just love that mindset. I got a couple guys next to me that I've never played with in the locker room, getting to chat with them every single day, getting it all mixed up with different guys in the workouts, and then starting to ramp up competition stuff. So it's very, very cool, like clear mindset of what this period is.
Do you sense anything different?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that's got to be such a fun part of coaching. Is you're looking at these dudes that are professional football players, and how can you galvanize all of us and bring us together towards a common goal whenever we're all wanting to have our success, our teammate success, our entire franchise success. And so I think that it's been cool to just see even quickly how the day is operated, where we're all mixed together, and it's all the competition stuff is just now like heating up a little bit, but it's all little stuff. It's just little drills that we're just kind of getting back into it. But it's like, yeah, the O line's with the D line, and the DBs are with the wide receivers. And it's a cool way to do it. And so I'm looking forward to it.
So many new guys in the locker room, right? What is the challenge there of?
Yeah, I think 100% the biggest challenge is everybody takes something. Everybody brings something with them that they've had their whole career. Everybody's got unique strengths. Everybody's got unique gifts. And so I think the biggest thing, I know something that I try and do, as one of the veterans in the locker room, I just like to empower guys, things that they do well. And even just whether it be something in workouts or details, or getting to know them at the breakfast table, seeing them in the weight room, and just kind of asking their history, their story, how they got into the league. That's just something I try and do personally, is getting to know guys on that kind of personal level. And it just quickly, like, this is such a special game, and it's such an emotional game, and you quickly get close to guys. And so I think that is probably the biggest challenge, is that, as head coach, position coaches, GM, like, you bring all these guys together, and man, you're really encouraging them, pushing this period that we have together. But then it's on us to actually step out, get to know one another, create this bond, and then go win some football games.
In your limited interaction with DQ, what have you picked up on?
Yeah, I texted him as soon as he got the job to congratulate him. And he was just like, "Hey, can I give you a call?" And we just chat real quick. We were celebrating a family birthday out on the West Coast. And I was like, "Hey, I'll be in Monday. I'd love to pop in." And we chatted for close to 20 or 25 minutes. And I bet 3 minutes of it was about football. And all he asked was how I got into the league. And that was just cool. Like, I just got to sit there and chat with my new head coach up in his office. And just the questions he asked, and I got to ask him some questions, and it was, I'll always remember that. That was a cool way to kind of start this relationship and friendship. So.
And what are your impressions of Larry Izzo?
The thing is as a specialist and a dude, like, my life is special teams. I mean, I'm playing for a coach who was and like is a playing legend. And so our first interaction, I get into his office, and I'm talking within 20 seconds, we're on the whiteboard, and I'm just talking about little things and schemes with the punt team and coverage and like things like that. And it is just, I mean, it's awesome. Like, I can't wait for our special teams meetings to start firing up. And that's such a cool, just being a veteran player, and like, you get to be around different coaches. It's so fun watching guys, and especially the success that he has had, where those Seattle special teams units, I mean, you could track back to ever since I've been in the league, since my rookie year, those Seattle special teams units, they just hunt. And so as a punter, you love having your dudes who want to go hunt, and especially a coach that is pushing them to go hunt, and who used to hunt in his own day. So that is definitely exciting to be playing with him, for sure.
What's your initial reaction when you start seeing all these names pop up?
Yeah, I think the coolest thing about bringing in guys that are some of the best players at their position in the game, in the history of the game. I mean, just Ertz torched us for years. Like, it was like every freaking third down playing against Philly. Oh, all right, Ertz got the first down. And it's just that kind and then when Wagner's on the other side of the ball or the other sideline, it's like freaking Bobby's over there. And then now they're in your locker room. And I think the coolest thing is like even me playing against these guys for years, like you see them in their helmet and their uniform on game day, and those are special dudes on game day. You don't get to do every day with them. And so like I see him walk into the building, I'm like, there's freaking Bobby Wagner right there. And he is just approachable, smiling, humble, just excited to be here. Same with Zach. Zach sits down first day. He and I just had some breakfast together and we're chatting a little bit. And it's just so cool to see these guys in their day-to-day life. And it's like reverse order. Like instead of getting to know them first and then seeing them on game day, you're playing against them for years and then now getting to do day-to-day. And it's a fun thing to see in person.
All right, insiders, like I said, look out this weekend. You're going to get about 10 more minutes of Tress Way than what we were able to share here on the episode. I wish we get everything from everybody on every episode, but we can't. So insiders, that bonus content, you're going to get about 12 additional minutes of the conversation that we as the media had with Tress Way. Coming up next, another captain, Terry McLaurin. We're going to talk to him next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Commanders brought to you by Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, so the end of this month, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info, claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. Continuing on now, today's episode of Locked On Commanders. Thanks again for making Locked On Commanders your first listen of the day, today and every day. Every day, make sure you come back tomorrow. We got a bonus mailbag episode to round out the week, and you will hear from Washington Commanders defensive tackle Daron Payne. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your television all day long? Do you have to turn down the volume when the shouting starts? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest story without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Next up, we're going to hear from wide receiver Terry McLaurin, captain, very popular player, Scary Terry, for Washington Commanders fans, and he's going to tell us his thoughts about the feeling around the building. He's also going to talk a little bit about Curtis Samuel's departure, which I believe was Chick Hernandez, a WSA 9, our Tegna partner over there in DC. Really happy that he asked that question, or whoever was to ask that question, because that's the question that I wanted to ask as well. We're going to get Terry's impressions of Cliff Kingsbury, his fourth offensive system that he's going to be playing in the National Football League, what he's been working on this offseason, a quote from Dan Quinn about doing hard things, I'm paraphrasing, with good people, and then his thoughts on playing with yet another new quarterback and what he thinks that Sam Howell is walking into in Seattle. So let's hear from Terry.
Everything's been really good. I think Coach Quinn has really laid out a really good plan for our offseason, and he's really just started off making sure everybody gets to know one another, from the coaches and the players. So we really start off on a really good foot this week, and it's just good to be back, around the guys again.
What are you looking forward to most with this new group?
Honestly, I think this is the fun part of the offseason, because you really get to start getting to know your guys on a personal level. You get to do the camaraderie and the team building things, and you all are starting from, the same level. We're all learning a new offense, new defense. We're all learning new names, new faces. So everybody get to start on the same level and get to build this thing from the ground up.
Curtis no longer here, I guess.
Yeah, we were training. We trained at Bomberitos together, so I got to see him for the most part of the off season, and First of all, I was happy for him. Obviously, we know that this is a business, and he has to do what's best for his career and his future as well. So, obviously, he has familiarity with Joe Brady. He had one of his best seasons with them. So, I think he's going to be a big part of their offense and continue to grow as a receiver. It's a loss for our room because he's a dynamic playmaker. He can play inside and out. And just his energy, man, I think he really became one of the favorite teammates on the team because he kept things light, but he also was a really hard worker and made plays when we need him to. So on a personal standpoint, I'm definitely going to, miss him, having him in the building. And he's kind of like the guy I get to talk to, and he's like my best friend. But on the other hand, I get to see him, continue to take steps in his career. He's still very young, so he has a lot of good football ahead of him.
Your early sense of Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, we haven't honestly even started install yet, so I haven't even got a lay of the land quite yet. I'll probably take a look at just got our iPads within the last few days, so I'll try to take a sneak peek at what we have looking forward. But I know with him talking to Zach Ertz, he does a great job of trying to get his playmakers involved, which I think we have a really good group of guys, from the running backs, the receivers, and some solid tight ends as well. So I'm just looking forward to see where I fit into that. And I think with him, his biggest things is making sure the playmakers are making plays and trying to fit the scheme around that, which is always good to hear.
This is what, your fourth offense that you've adjusted to? Does it?
Yeah, it's definitely, an adjustment. Obviously, when you're learning a new offense, and it's kind of the same mentality I take into last year and years past, where you kind of just want to take a day one approach. You kind of erase what you've learned in the past. But at the end of the day, I think, schemes in the NFL are relatively similar. It's just the names and the formations that may be a little different. So just getting used to the terminology, and Cliff's offense is just going to be something that's an adjustment for all of us. But the good thing about it is I got some good time on my hands to really put some work in studying when I leave this place. So I could come in here when we have walkthroughs, and when we start to put our helmets on, we can really hit the ground running. So far it's we haven't learned anything yet, but my approach is the same. Try to take good notes in there, ask good questions, and then study on my own at night.
What are some of the things you're emphasizing this offseason for yourself?
Yeah, I think I got some really good work down in Florida. Just working on my footwork, just being better at the top of my routes, sharper on my speed cuts, dig routes, out routes, and just being cleaner with my footwork at the top of the routes. I think, with a little bit of zone coverage that we've seen in the past with some teams kind of running more too high shell, you're going to get a little bit more of catch technique where guys are kind of sitting at the top of your route. So I want to be better at being efficient and getting out of those routes when a guy's kind of sitting at my depth, whether it's a 15-yard comeback or a 12-yard curl route, being able to get out efficiently so I can create and keep the separation within my route. So obviously I'm always still working on my ball skills and making sure I'm just catching a lot of footballs in the off season, but just really being better at the top of the routes and, sharper out of my cuts is something that I think I can improve on.
Looking at the new coaches, what impresses you most about those guys too?
Yeah, I think Coach Quinn has really assembled a very unique group of coaches. There's multiple head coaches. There's multiple coordinators that have come from different places. And so you have guys who have a lot of football experience. Some have played, some have coached in big games. And then you bring in, the talent that we have defensively and offensively. And I just think you can feel the unity and the sameness in the message that he's trying to preach to our team. And we're going to be tough and we're going to be competitive, but we're also going to have fun. And I think he said in your guys' interview, he said he likes to do, hard with good people. So I think that's fun. A guy like me likes to put my nose down and grind and work. So I know him and I are going to continue to hit it off. And, it's just my job to help bring other guys along with me.
What is your approach to the rest of this offseason?
Yeah, I hit it really hard this offseason. So I kind of started training a little bit after the Super Bowl. So I got a good 6 to 8 weeks in to where I feel football ready right now, which is great for me because Obviously we're probably having a mini camp at the end of this month. So that'll be, I'm already in football shape. So that's exciting to know that I'm ready to be able to run routes and get going with our quarterbacks and get going with our system. So, as this offseason goes on, I just trust the plan that Chad and the guys have here. I want to be here for all the workouts and things like that and be a part of the team building and just continue to learn the playbook as we start to install things and be at a point where I could go out there and be confident in my game, what I've worked on this offseason and put that into how that fits into this offense. So I always try to pride myself on knowing multiple positions just to be flexible for the team and be flexible for myself. So I'll be ready for wherever they put me.
How surprised were you that Sam was traded?
Yeah, you never. Well, I don't know, say never, but it's always tough seeing like someone you build a really good relationship with go on and move on in their career, and especially your quarterback, because as a receiver, you want to continue to try to build that chemistry. You know what I mean? That was only our first year playing with one another, and I feel like him and I had we made some great plays and we had some, room for growth. And I think that comes with any new quarterback receiver relationship. And so, but to see him go in a situation where we have a chance to compete and play under a really good quarterback in Geno, I think he'll really like playing with receivers like, throwing the receivers like Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigba and DK, you know what I mean? So I think he's going in a situation where he'll have a chance to continue to show that he can play quarterback at a high level in this league, which I still truly believe in. We know this is a business and, I think hopefully things work out for both sides, but I always have a lot of respect for Sam, how he handled things good and bad last year. And, I think he took a really big step in his career to continue to prove that he can play at a high level.
Coming up next, we've got Sam Cosmi on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Commanders is brought to you by Game Time, and Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. The Baltimore Orioles were hosting the Kansas City Royals this week, and you have tickets going for as little as $1 in that series. The Washington Nationals were hosting the Pittsburgh Pirates, and you could get to that park for as little as $15. Game Time has killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time literally takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets and really tickets for any other event in your area. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create your account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Today's episode is also brought to you by eBay Motors. With passion, drive, and patience, eBay Motors knows that what brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die vehicle alive, especially if it's your only vehicle. A lot of one vehicle families out there, that ride or die needs to stay alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and even level it up to peak performance. They've got superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. So whether it's speed you're looking for, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you're always going to find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're going to burn rubber. You're not going to burn cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. Wrapping up this conversational episode of Locked On Commanders, we're hearing from Commanders veteran players as they talk to us following their first full day, their second day of OTAs, the offseason workout program. And we're going to wrap this thing up with offensive lineman Sam Cosmi, who, again, talking about the new faces, the new vibe around the building. But I think it was really important what Sam mentioned was that they're integrating the team. It's not segregated like defense over here, offense over here, special teams guys here. No, they're trying to fold everybody in together. And I think that's really important. I think that's really how you get a cohesive unit. Is it shouldn't just be O linemen hanging with O linemen, D linemen hanging with D linemen. No, like let's get the O linemen hanging with the D linemen. Let's get a defensive end hanging out with a wide receiver. Let's get a long snapper hanging out with the cornerbacks, right? So I like to hear that kind of thing. Even point out some things that sound kind of trivial, right? But walking into your meeting rooms and you got music playing in the background, and I doubt the music is playing during the entire meeting, right? But just kind of gives you a vibe of like, hey, like this is work, right? But it's supposed to be a fun job, right? Like I look at my job and I asked the Bobby Wagner Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles question earlier last month, and some people were like, oh, come on, what are you doing? And look, this job is supposed to be fun, right? So every once in a while, let's have some fun with it. Don't get me wrong, take it very seriously, but you also want to have some fun because it's a game after all, right? That's what we're doing here. Says that the team feels better, and also he likes the idea that it seems they're going to run the ball better or at least more effectively in 2024. Of course, if you remember, Sam Cosmi last year was one of the guys in the locker room at the end of the season kind of lamenting about how little they ran the ball. So it seems like that's going to be a little bit more of a focus in the Cliff Kingsbury offense, which is something we spoke about earlier this offseason when he was hired. Now, he's got the air raid reputation, but he does like to run the ball. Sam Cosmi really likes the approach of bringing the attack to the defense. I think that's really helpful. Talks about helping a young quarterback, the addition of Tyler Biotish. Sam Cosmi even talks about being a new father. I left that in here because, I don't know, maybe I got a sweet spot for being a dad, but I left it in there for Sam and his thoughts on new offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson. So here is Sam Cosmi.
I mean, it's definitely exciting. A lot of new faces, a lot of great guys. Right now we're kind of these first 2 days is introducing ourselves and really to getting to know each other, not only players, but coaches, because we have a bunch of coaches in here, new coaches in here too. So, but overall dynamic of the environment and the vibe is very positive, very uplifting. We're integrating a lot of, which in the past we haven't, offense and defense of just, you could just tell like the whole locker room is kind of random when it comes to defensive guy, offensive guy, just kind of walking in the team meeting room with a little bit of music going, just allows like just a positive vibe, just these little things, little details, overall. And, it's not really separated from, like I said, defense and offense. So that's been very helpful in the aspect of just building relationships across the team.
Sam, I remember the last day when we talked to you, you said, run the dang ball. You didn't use that language, you used different language. How refreshed are you having seen what the organization is doing and the bodies that they're bringing in?
Yeah, I mean, we're bringing in some guys. We got Austin and then got Big B Rob, and I think we picked up somebody else. We've been the free agency's been ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer. I mean, this is a pass heavy league, obviously, which is it is what it is type of thing. And but I do like to run the ball. I do like to be bringing the attack on the defense. And so we're definitely emphasizing that more, it sounds like. So I'm excited about that.
A rookie quarterback, what does a lineman have to do?
We as a line have to definitely help him in the learning process for sure. Taking stuff off of his plate, being able to communicate with him, and it's a whole new thing for him with everything. So as much as we can help him, not only protect him, but like I said, mentally, that's going to be part of our jobs this year for sure.
Tyler coming at center, you got Nick over at guard. What do you know about those two guys?
I know they're very aggressive, very hard workers just from the tape and being able to watch them. I'm excited to play next to those guys. I think we're building something special, especially on the O-line. So bringing in those guys, I think are going to be very key parts to having a very successful O-line. So I'm very excited to play next to them and, just being around them in the building. I mean, great guys, great character already, I can tell. Like I said, I'm very excited.
First off, how's dad life?
Yeah, dad life is one of the best things in the world. I always come home with a smile just to see my little baby girl. So being able to do that, and then it's definitely a different meaning when it comes to going to work, because you just have that little one to take care of when you go home. So having that addition and to my family and doing that and building my family, it just makes going to work even more special. So because you have another thing to work for. So I've enjoyed every second of it. truly.
New offensive line coach. Obviously, this is all very early, but what's your sense?
Yeah, I mean, his biggest emphasis is the fact of like open communication. We're all working towards one goal, and that's being one of the best O-line in the league. And doing that, being communicative towards one another when it comes to hey, what do you see in practice? What do you see this, that, and the other? What calls? It's a very open channel when it comes to communicating, and I thoroughly enjoy that, and the fact that we can say our opinions when it comes to looks and certain things that we see. Obviously, he's the coach; he's going to make the final say. But just being able to have that is huge.
And that's going to do it for today's episode. Coming up tomorrow, we got a mailbag episode to round out the week, and you're going to hear from defensive tackle Deron Payne. In the meantime, if you got questions for additional mailbags in the future, just drop them in the YouTube comment section or text me directly as a Locked On Commanders insider. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnCommanders to be a part of the ever-growing population of Locked On Commanders insiders. All the insiders, I appreciate you. Everydayers, I appreciate you as well. Don't forget to check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever 24/7 live streaming sports channel on YouTube. And until we speak again, if you're out and about, please be safe, be kind, and I'll see you next time for another episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.